Hello, my dear ones. How are we today? It's a trip working around here. These guys, I tell you, you have to be on your toes. You have to be on your toes. I hope you're all doing well. Pleasure to always talk with you again. I love you guys. You guys are doing so well. I'm just so proud of you. Just got off the phone with a practitioner in the UK, and she's pulling herself right through from Hellville to Wellville, baby. And she had some real deep genetic weaknesses, and she's pulling herself right out of them. Just love that. And she was telling me that she was on the hypothalamus glandular, and she used to bite her nails. And as soon as she went on that glandular, she didn't bite her nails anymore. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. You know, there's so much to discover out there. Remember, some of us older guys, we just been paving the way. Now, there's so many of you. You know, I talked about this before. You know, I've been alone for years in terms of finding like-minded people. Now you got all over the place. You got the internet. You got friends. There's raw foodists everywhere. So that's pretty cool. The change, the huge difference it took a lot of years though, but it's accelerating faster and faster and faster, and now that you guys are on board, and really the lessons we've learned through all these years of working with beautiful souls and their bodies, all these lessons are very helpful, and we can just keep growing and learning. And I just think that to see what we can produce in terms of an outcome of a livable planet, it can be exciting. You know, change this aggression and bring about peace and love. And the diet is the key factor to do it with. So it's a big deal. You know, it's what I call coming in the back door. They don't even know it's going to make them peaceful and lovable. So someone asked me about this survival shield, which is a nanocolloidal, meaning extremely low microns probably. Nanocolloidal, nanos levels are beyond electron microscope, I suppose. Colloidal nascent iodine. I don't give a heck what isolate and what micron or what level, basically, how colloidal liquid you get it. It's still an isolate. And the family members get upset when one family member goes out on its own, remember? So you have to be careful. You run risks, and you run risks playing with nature and the way it proposes its iodine. You know, when we go playing, it's like water and dealing with filtrations and micron levels and getting in nanocolloidals and stuff. You're going to be real careful messing with nature and bringing it into places it would not normally want to go. And we talked about this earlier on a video about minerals, for an example. People, you know, rave about, to chemists, you know, there's no difference between a salt, basically, and a what they call organic minerals, which is ridiculous. But let's say an inorganic element like calcium in and of by itself, the utilization of, or I'll say the absorption of that is minimal. The body doesn't absorb fundamental elementals real easy. This is exactly why chelation was adapted long before there was chelation therapy in terms of blood work. Back when I got started chelation, we were wrapping amino acids around minerals to get them in through the bowel wall. And when you see something that's not readily absorbable, and this is particularly true when proper absorption is fixed, then your body is not designed by nature to do that. And I think that this goes to this whole consciousness of treatment-based thinking. You know, there's only one road to Wellville. There's not a million roads to there. There's roads that take you so far up there, like the vegetable road and some things like this, it'll take you closer. But true road to Wellville is a road full of fruits and berries and melons and maybe a salad a day or something like that. I just put this package together here, and I just pulled this one, and this is JALB. So I have a very, very hard time keeping up with a frugivorish diet. Well, the thing is, and of course early on when we started this site, we got a lot of kickback from different people out there on this. The fact still remains, we're a frugivore species. The other fact remains, a lot of us have had generations of cooked foods and dead animal eating through our ancestry. And so this is all part of the human consciousness. And changing that, all things, believe this or not, all things like that are a part of consciousness. They make up consciousness. And or shall I say, states of consciousness, perhaps, to be more precise. So, when you see meat eaters, you tend to see a little more aggression. You tend to see different levels of things. Now, it's not to say that spiritual people can't eat dead animals and things like that, because that's not true. And there's certain, and a good thing is the Radhaswami. And the Singh group used to say, and they're real disciplined, they recognize Sat Nam, which is the soul plane. Soul plane, or Sat Nam, is the first part of the infinite part of God, to where you see yourself. You can't see yourself, but that's when you experience the most alone state you've ever experienced, and there's no one else there. There's no separation at that level. It all becomes the one, the all, the omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient, so to speak. And so that particular group in India, they're real strict, not even eggs. And the thing is, you can't put a label on what you eat saying that what you eat will block you from being who you are. That's not true. However, there's no question that a fruitarian diet is etheric, it is nirvanic, it allows for in and out of the body traveling so much easier. There are all kinds of benefits as opposed to eating a lower form diet. Remember that 256-year-old Chinese guy? There has been a statement out that he claimed that he didn't eat anything below the ground that was grown below the ground, and he believed that the higher off the ground you eat, the healthier you'll be. And if you take a look at that, things that tend to grow, not all things, but things that tend to grow below the ground, of course, are starch. And then things that grow on the ground, vibrationally speaking. So, kind of looking at this as an allegory, the higher you are in terms of consciousness, the more pure your diet should be. Which is true when you consider this is the divine temple that houses the soul. But that said, though, keeping the body clean and pure is really fun and really feels good. Time goes on, and with all these genetic memories, people tend to come off of this. And we were talking about this. Someone asked me about a 20% cooked food diet, if that was acceptable, if everything else was raw. And I say, if you get in and rebuild and clean enough, absolutely, you'll live plenty. But if we can keep reinstating this consciousness of higher level of consumption in our children, raise them raw, we're going to not only uplift the consciousness of the planet, but some of these lower states of consciousness that people get into by dietary habits will be eliminated. So it's just, in all ways of kind of looking at this, it's exciting to see at this level what God can do to this level. But I think this level, again, is a precursor for a training ground for yourselves. I keep falling off the wagon. And I want to tell you guys something. This is Sam. Sam, don't beat yourself up. I'm not going to beat you up for that. And if anybody judges you for that, walk away from them. Because if that person judges you for that, it won't be long and karma will whap them. Pretty soon they'll go off of it. And, and that's the thing. Soon as you judge someone, you're whacked. Comes right back at you. Remember, what you put out comes back. It's just physics. Of course, Christ said it is you reap what you sow, and Buddha said karma. So don't worry about it. You keep working this, guys. Don't get upset at yourselves. Love yourselves. You keep working it. You keep doing the best you can. If someone beats you up, then that's ego. That's narcissism. And you don't need that. You don't have to worry about that. We're not judging you here at all. We know how hard it is. I mean, I don't know what percentage you can say of the people I've seen and Jensen have seen and stuff, but, everybody fights this. You might have some Puritans out there, but I was giving the example of Harvey Diamond on this next video that should be going up before this one. the guy believes now that you're going to eat cooked foods. So you're going to eat cooked foods through the year, and he thinks that doing 2 weeks of raw a year would be enough, and then go on digestive enzymes for the rest of the year. I mean, that shows you, and here's a guy that was so sold on natural hygiene, you couldn't have pried him off of it, wrote a book on it. Of course, I don't know. He admits he made millions off the book. I'm going, yeah, right, look at that. Crazy thinking. But it's enough to say that he didn't last long. And so you start to see these people. I've been raw for 1970. So from 1970 to now, I've had my times where I've been all raw, and I've had times where I've been 20% cooked and 80% raw. I go kind of like this, depending my stress levels, where I'm at, if I'm on a trip, or if I'm in a country and what I can get. There's a lot of factors. And you can't judge those things. It's just life. And it's life. If you talk to other practitioners worldwide, we all have the same problems, guys. So, Sam, don't beat yourself up. Keep working it. Keep working it. Keep working it. And spend time alone with yourself. Because when you can't discipline yourself, your attention is so much outwardly. And that's what I was telling you with me. My attention is grabbed so much, but it's my training. Because my goal is to be centered in my seat at the soul plane and be able to handle all activity as I'm conscious and it flows through me at all these levels, and I don't move my attention off of the allness, that I can run my bodies without losing my attention within them. And that's my goal, and I've been working on that. And so, the responsibility is bringing it down on me, coming down on me, and it's like, well, I can handle it. And I just do my best, to handle that, but it's me, my consciousness that I'm trying to survive throughout eternity, so to speak. I'm trying to get back home, so to speak. And so that's more important. Your survival beyond this little drama is key. And nirvanic and exciting, and there's just no human words to describe these experiences like that. Health, another great nirvanic experience, but nothing like the soul awareness and things like that. And then junk food for a few weeks. I realize that I can be 100% right now and have to go slower. Go slower. Make sure you get, Parasite M is a good formula for those that crave foods, because generally fungus is a craver of fermented foods. So cheeses, breads, grains, pastas, you're going to crave them. And that's fungus. And so you just use that as a fungal kill as you detoxify. And I had the same thing, guys. It's different when you're out in the woods by yourself living as a hermit. Your self-discipline is quite obvious. No one's around to take your attention away from yourself, because the more you give yourself away, the less you have for yourself. And in the final analysis, no one cares. And God people care, because they want everybody to get back to where they retain their consciousness. But the more you give your attention away, a little piece of you, we talked about that on a video where, this is why you see spirituality and you see the Jesus syndrome, the Buddha syndrome, all done in the state of poverty. And one has to be careful with poverty consciousness not to adapt that. That's another problem with spirituality, is taking on poverty consciousness. You don't have to take that on. You don't want to take on poverty consciousness or the opposite. A lot of groups are out there with positive thinking and you can have all you want. Yeah, you lock yourself deeper in creation that way. It isn't a matter of what you want. You want the things of creation. You're already doing that. You can be positive or negative. It doesn't matter. They're both part of creation. You're trying to pull yourself outside of the drama to where you can be happy and joyful and nirvanic and experiencing so many things and knowing so many things that no one else does, because you're hooked to the God source directly, and the bodies are doing their things as you're working with them. They're not taking your attention. Your mind isn't taking your attention away. Thoughts aren't dominating your attention. Desires aren't dominating your attention. When they do, you lose. You're in creation. You get to play the game, and some games are fun to play. But you can play the game and not lose yourself. And I was telling you, the movie Michael with John Travolta is a good example how once you get your consciousness and you get set, excuse me, you can then play in creation consciously. That's the gig. Becoming conscious. And that's not giving your attention to everything out there. If you got friends or loved ones, you give them love, but you don't give yourself away. And that's the problem, what we do. And ladies tend to do that more because they're just such loves, and they give, and they're part of that matrix of God that if you don't have a female principle around or within you, it's it's extremely acidic. Okay? What are the non-physiological foods that I can eat and still not harm my health too much and without them being addictive? I'm going to say steamed vegetables, probably with that question, Sam. The steamed vegetables, I don't even know if I'd lump stir fry in there, but definitely steamed vegetables, things like that, I suppose. I mean, if you could piece on some dates or figs, but as a sweet thing, you know, I mean, medjool dates, you can't get much sweeter. So any of these things like that. I'll say this. The proteins are the worst. Of course, the dairy proteins by far stand on the top of the mucus chain. Those are all the worst foods. Things that putrefy, you know, which is going to be animal products, those are going to be the worst cheats. That includes cheeses and all milks and all that. So then you're faced with nuts, grains, beans, and that sort of thing, and all those aren't real well. I would say that if you're going to cheat on the protein side, you'd grab the coconut, pine nut, pignolia nut, in other words, maybe down your lesser protein nuts like your pecans and almonds, and just a few. The problem is that, you know, you get a handful of almonds with a bunch of raisins. Oh, God, really good. That put on a lot of weight on me was the nuts, you know, and then made me more acidic, and I didn't realize that. But then I was able to tell you guys that. And then some of you guys beat me up for it, and then some of you went, wow, man, they hurt me too. And so pretty soon we're all learning the issue of protein. But I can tell you there's been great medical doctors that wrote books in the 1800s about the negative effects of protein, and you know, it's just something that's there. What about starchy vegetables, eggs, rice, french fries, dressings, ketchup, mayonnaise? Interesting question, Sam. Okay. Eggs, extremely constipating. And I would say, and very, very putrefactive. Notice how bad an egg odor is with the sulfur and stuff. Yeah. So they're pretty bad, you know. However, a raw, non-fertile egg, you know, you could use it to muscle build if you were a bodybuilder. I'm biting my tongue on that one. Rice, brown rice, okay, starch again, but that's a cheatable. You know, kind of neutral in its pH factors, I suppose. So, yeah, brown rice is a neutral one. You could do that with some steamed vegetables. And I would say that instead of soy sauce, you could use like a sesame, a tamari, maybe? Or is that tahini? Ketchup, very acidic. Cooked tomatoes. Mayonnaise, extremely mucus forming. I would say ketchup would be better than mayonnaise, to be honest with you. And maybe mustard a little better than those two. Light, you know, and then you cheat like this, you do a little light, just a little bit. You know, a little dab will do you, so to speak. You know, this is kind of the things you do. It just want to taste. Okay, you know, sometimes that's all you need to satisfy that, and then you can go on and have fun. You know, when you're working with people, real live people, they're going to rat out, just like Sam's saying here on the frugivorish diet. They're going to rat out because it's so powerful that if they're not spiritually in tune, it feels conflictual to them. And it's just that it's such a high vibrational frequency diet. Even your body, notice how your body responds so much more on fruit than vegetables? Oh, in every way. Active. And then it gets blamed for creating skin expressions and things like that when it's just very active in moving lymph. Starchy vegetables, sure. I would say that anything white, no good. Remember, the whiter the bread, the sooner you're dead. There's a whole bunch of those little sayings. But I think a baked sweet potato wouldn't be so bad. You know, I used to get from a farmer diet to a frugivorish diet. I had to use baked potatoes, and I used tons of Willow, excuse me, Willow Run, which is a soy butter. Well, I thought soy was good for you years ago, even though my dad, excuse me, I'm going on my little detox here. In farming, most of the farmers around Indiana that I knew didn't care at all for soy. But mushrooms, absolutely mushrooms. I think you can do them. A form of fungi and a protein, but I think you can do them and be okay. I think that, if anything, do them raw, of course. But I don't know what to say. I mean, I've used the kombucha. I've done all kinds of mushrooms. I even have my immune formula with the baby mushrooms and stuff because they're just so much more powerful. But to tell you the truth, I've never seen them do anything more than what this level is. I've kind of left off things that didn't give me a help, especially if it adds more money to the package. So you don't see me adding immune formulas to your package because most people have great immune cells. Their highway's blocked. And the highway to the immune system is predominantly the lymphatic system. There's immunity in the blood, but if you look at your lymph system, it predominantly holds the answer to the cleansing and the removal of waste by the body, which it would. Blood would not be responsible for that. The only thing in a kitchen you have is a garbage disposal or a sink that you can get rid of stuff, but you put it down the sewer pipes. Just so the spleen does the same thing, cleans the blood through the sewer pipes. That's why the spleen is called a blood and lymphatic organ. Gluten-free, dairy-free pastry? Yeah, it might be my little weakness. Depends what's on it. The other thing is my weakness would be custard. Oh my God, I love custard. Got all the bads in there. The eggs, the milks, and the sugars, horrible. It's just life here on the planet. It's what man has accumulated because he's been a meat eater, and because he's been such a protein eater, he has to balance out with sugars. Because nature has, and I've told you this before, nature has a ratio between the nitrogen and carbons and all this, and in other words, between the amino acids, between the fatty acids, and between the carbons. And it's essential. Carbons rule because that's ATP. But nitrogen rules, of course, in terms of atmosphere and stuff. But nitrogen can be pulled either way, I think. What can I do to cheat without it being too bad for my body? Yep. Yeah, steamed vegetables, mushrooms, baked sweet potatoes. You can dehydrate corn chips, make yourself corn chips out of real corn and use them in guacamole. You can do that. Pretty starchy. Nobody digests corn. Yeah, those sort of things. And I think that'd be enough. I know it's not a silly question at all. Not at all, Sam. You know what? It's reality. You know, some people don't live in reality. I live in reality here. Sorry, this is the drama. And there are certain things that, you can make judgments about things, but, people have to get over that sort of thing. I just find that offensive. Now, there is something here, and I want to, this is from, who is this sent by? Okay, Shane, honey, let me see here. It says this is a serious case for our videos. So you want to go over this case? I mean, I've got so many questions here, guys. My God, I'm going to try this weekend and somehow, or into this week, to really put a nail on some of these questions. But let's go over this case, because let me say this to you guys. As you see the rhythm that I'm moving you guys down, you'll begin to see that it's redundant. And redundancy is good when it's truth. And that's the thing, is that you begin to see, and if anything, I'm trying to tie all the links for you together to show you why detoxification is the golden key. You really will see why as you begin to see all these cases and how all the symptoms are linked. And mostly you'll find them linked to the lymphatic system. And when you find a weakness of the endocrine glands, whether it's the pituitary or thyroid or adrenals, The question is why? And then if you say, okay, I have a genetically weak thyroid, then the question is, who gave it to you? Oh, my mom gave it to me. My mom had it. And then her mom had thyroid, of course. So you see that genetic passing down the line. But if you backed it all the way back to, let's say, Aunt Hilda, and you say, okay, Aunt Hilda started this down my genetic tree line. How did Aunt Hilda weaken her thyroid before she could conceive to start this off? And I want to say to you, probably dairy products. The dairy products are the most congestive to the upper respiratory, sinus, throat, and so probably heavy milk drinkers back in these farm days, genetic days way back, where they fill their bodies full of mucus, and that suppresses the function of these tissues. And in time, of course, being acidic can break them down. And so, as you see, it took a lot of decades to do this, but it has done this to the point where we are beyond serious. If I had to link where we are, we're at the chronic levels mostly, and tremendous amount of degenerative levels. We're into some very serious levels. You know, there's still the subacute out there, but I'm telling you. And this is why the medical profession is at a loss, and now is at a greater killing machine than it ever was, because they don't understand this. They don't understand that you can't, in PSAs, you can't increase them from 0 to 3 in the lab work and go from 0 to 3 to 0 to 4. You need to go from 0 to 3 to 0 to 2. We got to start realizing that tissue is so genetically weak that half the time you start to see the tissue decay and die than we did before. This isn't things are getting better. I don't know where these guys come from. So let's read this case. I haven't read this case yet, so let's see where we're at. And I'm sorry that I read these in front of you, because it does expose the fact that I can't spell worth a crap, or pronunciate worth a pronunciate. Is that Caribbean or Caribbean? You know, that sort of thing. You know, when you're a country boy raised like that, and some of these medical terms are so ridiculous. Okay. Would be able to pass this on to Dr. Morse? Absolutely, my friend. Hey, Dr. Morse, just wanted to say I love you. I love you too, man. Thanks, guys. Thank you for being such a... Oh, thanks, man. What is this here? It's from the West... Oh, okay. This is from Western Australia. Has said it is fine to discuss on video as a... Okay, so I guess I've been cleared to discuss this on a video as a case study and perhaps check over the current protocol and make suggestions as how we could improve things. Let's do this, because protocols are the key here. And that's basically, once level 2 in the school is basically a ton of this in terms of creation, how it's made, how it affects genetics, how food affects the genetics. I mean, I'm really into this whole thing with you to take you down that road of why detoxification is the key and all of that. We do have protocols, but most classes I have minimal time for a lot of protocols. Level 2, I'd like to be almost exclusively protocols and maybe a deeper John into iridology. Excuse me. Okay, here's a case background. This individual, excuse me, I'm sorry, guys. This individual is currently suffering with intense edema, okay, and painful swelling all over her body. All right, let's stop right there. When you see that, what's up? Well, I mean, immediately when you see the ankles swelling, you'll see swelling. One lady was in here and she said, you know, she went up to the fruit, and she said, "My God, I gained 20 pounds on the fruit." And she said, I just had to come off the fruit. I was gaining weight. I said, "You weren't gaining fat." She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Oh, no, you were gaining water weight." And this is so important to understand this, guys, because, and I've talked about this way back, where a medical doctor killed one of our clients by ordering the nurse to give her so much water so often. He drowned her. And this is a little secret that people need to know, is that the more acidic you get, the more dehydrated you get, the more edemic you will get. Sounds like an oxymoron, but it isn't. Your body's survival. And your body's survival, and I try to bring this up in most of the videos, your survival is seen, or your cell survival and how the body's trying to survive itself in a highly acidic medium is seen through the eyes of cholesterol, calcium, and edema. These three, and you'll see that on your exam when you guys that are taking these exams. This is one of the questions I have for you. What are the three methods that the body uses to protect itself against acidosis? And cholesterol, calcium, and edema. And when this lady's so full of she's swollen all over, guess what? System's down. Not her blood. You don't get edemic in a very alkaline mix, particularly between a 7 and a 9 pH. So this is not alkalosis. This is extreme acidosis. So this is serious, because as you hold water, your lungs hold water, your heart holds water, and we call the heart holding that edemic is congestive heart failure, pulmonary edema, and these kill people. So this is a serious case, and that is right. This is a major case of what failure? Ha! I heard you all the way over here in the States. Kidneys and adrenals. Get after those kidneys and adrenals for sure. Especially her legs and stomach. So that means, now, but doesn't it make sense that if your kidneys filter an entire sewer system, including the skin, filters an entire sewer system, that when it's not, you will see in time the effect head to toe. And that's a perfect case to see that. It's just like cancer, guys. You know, the medical doctors have these little games like your cancer's moving on you. Ha! They're already systemic. When you see a tumor in the breast, your lymph is backed all through you. Yes, there's some areas that are compromised lymphatically more than others. Absolutely. You can get into genetic weaknesses of probably lymph nodes and lymph vessels and things like that as well. Nobody talks about lymph nodes and lymph vessels in the eyes of genetics and cells, but these guys are made of cells just like vascular walls and everything else. You know, so this is a real big deal, and this you can see that this lady's already involved with extreme systemic acidosis. And the thing is she's holding a lot of water from it. Now, what if she read a book that said that you should drink half your body weight in an ounce of water, or however they figure that one out? Or all these guys that say, drink all this water. What would happen to this case? They would kill her. So this is why I'm so cautious at everything I tell you. Like far infrared, I'm not going to tell you I like that, because it's the potential of an isolate of radiation is dangerous. Now, I wish I could show you what the red ray treatment in Europe did to breast tissue. So it's enough to say right off, my friends, in Australia, you've got a lady there systemically acidic. Her legs are swollen, and then you'll see the ankles turning red, and then it can move from red to dark, and then into gangrene. And stomach. Now, remember, the lymph system flows through the wall of the stomach, the intestines, the liver, the heart, the brain. Why? Because they're all made of cells. And every cell poops, and all cell waste must be removed. Remember, these are acids. And that includes in the stomach wall. Now, does she have sulfur? And I think you have her eyes you sent me. Let's take a look. I am working with her very closely, and we are in contact every day because she seems like a critical time for her. It is. And let me say this to you as well, and I hope Chris can get this one up. Matter of fact, he's lagging behind. They have him doing so many other things that he's dragging his heels on videos. I would love any tips, ideas, thoughts about, and what else we might be able to do in this case. All right, so let's bring out something else here. You don't even want to give her juices. I wouldn't give her green drinks. I wouldn't do juicing fruit at all. I would have her eating the fruit. As a matter of fact, I'd have her off of vegetables and on fruit. I would definitely stay with the subacid category, and if you can get really good oranges, you might be in Australia, get up in that level, you can have a few of those things. But you really want to hit her kidneys. And I would do a kidney capsule, kidney number 1 for sure, capsule. And you could do 2 or 3 in this chronic state. I'd probably do 3 to 4 kidney capsules 3-4 times a day. You can increase the dosage of these. Get a tincture kidney, say kidney number 2 or kidney number 4. We redid that one. Kidney glandular wouldn't hurt either, just for a couple of bottles. You want to wake these kidneys, but wait a minute, we got a gland on top. So I would hit these adrenal glandulars 400 milligrams and do 1-3 times a day. If she did want to do the glandular, do the endocrine gland tonic, adrenal herbs. But she's in a state where I'd probably do the glandulars, especially on the kidney and adrenals, and try to shake those kidneys loose. The next thing I would try to get her to do is sweat. Get her in a sauna, get this edema to work itself out. But again, it's only there in her survival because she's totally acidic. And this is exactly why the edema. And you remember, and listen, in lung cancer cases too, you don't want to give them a lot of water. Because if you fill up these lungs, they've got to go to the hospital and get aspirated. And that isn't fun. And especially if you get a case where this is happening, you will get them to stop filling back up. What they're doing is spraying the inside of the lungs with some kind of I don't know what it is. Some kind of, what do they call it? It blocks the lungs from filling up. Oh my God. In other words, they put some kind of plastic coating, lack of a better word. I mean, this is insane. The treatment of these things, not understanding causative factors, compromises and put the AMA in risk. Because that's just a karmic field that if I was you as medical doctors, I'd step out of that field. Because the karma is going to come wrapping around real strong. You guys want to step out now and get into this level of thinking. Then like I said, your patients will love you instead of sue you. And that's the difference. And you just got to understand causative factors. Then you're armed with that. Getting into the herbal pharmacopoeia will get you away from killing people and hurting people with pharmaceuticals, which is going to yield you lawsuits. You know, there's a reason you're paying so much money in insurance premiums for that. And that is because that's what you guys do. And so you got to get away from that. Now, she had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and had chemo from March to May 2011, 6x1 rounds every 4th night. She then went into remission. No, they suppressed everything. Acid suppress everything. And then, kaboom! They see that, though. They see that. And they still do it. That's the bad karma of that one. She was then re-diagnosed February 12th. Are we surprised? No, because this is a systemic problem. And you can't just treat or burn, poison, as they say, or remove tissue when you can clean and repair and rebuild. Sound better? Sound a lot better. And your patient lives. And not only lives, but gets their life back in a level they've never experienced before. It's like the lady I talked to this morning. She's been with us for a couple of years. And she said, my God, I'm feeling better. She's a practitioner. She said, I'm feeling better than I did in my 20s and 30s and 40s. I'm going, that's exactly what you're supposed to be. So she was re-diagnosed in February 12. This is obviously because the cause of the... You guys, I love you guys. You right on. That's how you think, because the cause of the issue was not fixed to start with. Love you guys. Which she is now on board with and fully agreeing with, open to the Dr. Morse approach. Let's just say, if she doesn't, she's in big doo-doo trouble. She then had 3 rounds of 3 days every 4th night, then 1 week of chemo, then stem cell transplant. See what I mean? These guys are like children in Toys R Us. So she has been put through the ringer. Yeah, no kidding. Well, basically, they've taken her acidosis and went probably from moderate to extreme. And that should be a crime punishable by imprisonment for an extended period of time. Because now, this medical doctor who did this is going on with their lives, doing it to others, and this lady's struggling to live from the treatment. So, very serious stuff here. Very serious stuff. I had attached her questionnaire and protocol that she is currently on, as well as her iPics. Oh, okay. Okay, here's the summary. Here's my overall summary that I provided when I worked my way through her case. Summary. This protocol aims to work on the underlying causes that are creating the key issues that you are experiencing: feet, legs, stomach, holding weight, memory, and mental sharpness. These issues all be related back to the same gland weakness, mainly adrenal thyroid, leading to interstitial lymphatic constipation and systemic acidosis. Right on, my man. You protect itself by creating and holding more fluids. You're right on, my friend. Cholesterol and leaching calcium from you. You're right on, my friend. You guys are right on point. And it feels good to know, doesn't it? It feels good to know why. And that's been always my question. You guys aren't using autoimmune. You guys aren't using age. You guys aren't using ridiculous excuses. You guys are right on point because you know what's up. And I respect you all for learning this. You guys are just so good. You're the future of the planet. And in an elevated thinking. We can see very strong constitution. Oh, good. Which is great, but we can also see a lot of lymph trapped in her body. Okay, so we'll look at her eye here in a minute. Her program will be three-pronged approach. First, now these are the guys down under. Let's see what they come up with. Number one is to continue along with a high fruit-based raw vegan diet, which you are already doing with a focus on mono, absolutely. Bringing in an herbal protocol to assist you during your detoxification, essential. Working on things you can do to help your body clean and come back into balance, essential, which would be saunas, not infrared. She's already burned enough. You'd want to do steam or dry. Definitely, now listen, even though she's highly acidic, she needs some direct or indirect sunlighting at least. Get her out on the porch where the cool air blows through, or whatever. The indirect sunlighting in the eyes, no sunglasses. Relaxing, meditation or contemplation, totally relaxing, picturing the God force moving through her. That'll help. Getting some kelp into the diet probably would be good. Meditate. Oh God, you guys are good. You know, we are beginning to think alike so bad. It's funny. I almost can't even read them because the next word is just what I'm thinking. Now, that's how good it is. You guys are just so good, and I praise you because you're worth it. You deserve it. And this world is in bad need. And, of course, the spirituality of it all is so much fun, isn't it? Progress so far. So the good news is that we have been able to get her adrenals working again quite well. Ooh, wow. With the glandulars, they were sitting on a 80 to 90 over. Yeah, see, you can see that. And they are 118 over 82. Left 100. Oh, look at the right side of her body. Her right blood pressure is 100 over 76. Okay, so let's look at that. If the right side, that's 100 over 76. If I take that 76, I fix those kidneys a little more, and I start pulling that acidosis out of the kidneys and get them filtering better, I'm probably going to see that 76 go down to 60s, the lower 60s. Let's say that I'm going to drop it 10 points. All right, let's take 10 points off the top a minute, because as the kidney pressure builds, so does the adrenals. It artificially stimulates adrenal function. So I bring down that diastolic by fixing the kidneys. I'm going to also, in turn, bring down the systolic. So that pulls her down in the 90s again. See what I'm saying? Now, if we go over here to the other blood pressure, 118 over 82. Now, that's where the kidney weakness really is. Well, the 76 is close. So here's left side, 118 over 82. That's 20 points too high. Medical loves 80. Of course they do. We love what's real, which is 60 to 70. So if we bring that 20 points and we take 20 points off 118, we're back down to 98 again. So she's coming up into the upper 90s. But keep working that, keep working that, keep working that. She's going to feel more energy, more neural response, more response all through her body as you get up toward 115 or so. She has been taking 2,000 milligrams of adrenal excuse me, I'm sorry, guys. Adrenal glandulars per day, and is now up to 2,400 milligrams. Well, you know what? When glands are down, sometimes it takes an elephant to get them up. It's amazing. 2 400 milligram capsules 3 times a day. Sometimes you have to do that. You know, whatever we have to do to save people, that's who we are. You know, we're the God people coming in to save people and to bring the light to the world. And that's what you have to see yourself as the light bearer. You guys are the givers, the way showers of truth and love and all that. People talk about it, but you guys are doing it. I may even consider bumping up that further until we can hold consistently at 120. I don't know. Be careful with there. That'll come up as you get to kidneys. Remember, the kidney it also has to be fixed. So you're up there pretty good. Although I've seen them go up, but be cautious there. I know we need to get the kidney. See what I'm talking about? 2 kidney formulas, exactly. Kidney number 1 capsule, kidney number, I don't care, tincture. I do the kidney granular too, just for a couple of bottles at least, to excite that kidney to perform again. So that is great that her adrenals are working better. She has started getting some small amounts of filtration. Looky there, small amounts of filtration in her urine. She is also great, and the kidneys seem to be coming back online. Okay, so as that happens, she's gonna go through a lot of peeing as you open that up, because a lot of these herbs in the kidney formulas are diuretics. So they're going to help open her up and get these fluids moving quicker out of her. But again, this is going to take a while to create systemic hydration. We could call it interstitial hydration if you would like, but this is, a lot of people think we can drink a little water and hydrate. You guys are getting a different picture, aren't you? Current diet. She has been working really hard with the fruits, although she finds them too sweet and struggles to get them down. Well, yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Still work with her with that. The grapes, too. I have her on mono grapes. That's a perfect idea. Mono grapes now, and she is finding that juicing them, having 3 to 4 cups a day is all she can do. I'd probably cut down the juices. I tell you, it's a thought we would do on ourselves, but when you're so full of water, you just got to be real careful, because she's so acidic from the chemotherapy. Forget the acidosis from her own lymph system. The medical doctor just gave her an acidosis that is out the roof. So that's why you see her struggling so much with systemic edema. And imagine your brain swelling with water. I mean, this is sad stuff that we have to have physicians that call themselves health practitioners doing crap like this to people. I mean, I hope that group wakes up enough to go, uh-oh, I need to change now. Now, I have suggested adding some lemon juice to make the grapes less sweet. Perfect idea. You guys are good. I mean, you guys are really good. You're doing just what I would do. She had all her friends bring around grapes from their vineyards. My God, that is cool stuff. That is right from the vineyard. Holy crap. Well, she's on the best food she could be on. She's on the best everything right there. I mean, she's at the best she can, and she seems like she's got some of the best healers over there taking care of her. Some days she feels like salads, though, and you could. I mean, if she gets ratted out on this, let her have a salad and then swing her back. You might have to do that play a little of that game to keep her inner excitement and her emotions intact, because sometimes I've even given bad stuff just as a one-time hit to pull them back to well. I told you about the older lady I had that had breast cancer, radiation, of course, mastectomy, radiation, of course, lung cancer, always almost, and of course she had aggressive lung cancer. We kept her alive for 20 years. I had her in her early 70s. She had given 2 or 3 months to live. I kept her alive till she was mid-80s. And then her husband died. She buried her husband. She buried her dog. And then she said, I haven't got nobody. And she took off. So this is the thing. But every once in a while, I had to give her chicken noodle soup. I had to give her something that would polarize her, that would ground her, to give her enough excitement to continue. Because some people, their food is their life. And we have to change that. And that, yes, a great grape off the vine or a great organic orange off the tree is nirvanic. That should be the type of food it's about. But when we live around our diets, it's a small little world of fun. There's so much more to life than eating. We just got to start learning that we have to eat to live, not live to eat. Let me see here. Some days she feels like salads, though, so we try to work in faith. Oh, you guys are... See, why even ask me? You guys are got to write down how you do it. Cook veggie soups, and she really likes lentils and curries. I had told her to lay off the curries. Well, what you could do is lay off the lentils and put some curry on some steamed vegetables. and therefore you're not moving into the lentil side, which is a dormant and ridiculous side. You're really getting into the living, or somewhat living, and you can use the curry up the vegetables for her, or do that in that way. I think that would be better than the lentils, especially when you're so radical up into the fruit. This is where we need to be, but, it's like the chicken noodle soup thing. Although she lived through that, I mean, it didn't have any negative effect on her. So you have to watch that. She feels sick every time she is taking the herbs and is sleeping most of the day. You might have to go down half dosages if it's too strong. Muscle tester on all these herbs, if they all test strong, good, because it's going to start invoking the movement interstitially of lymph, and so it could make her feel sick. But also, you might want to put some blood work every once in a while. Let's take a look at her blood work, make sure everything's looking good. She really can hardly walk around because of the edema. I feel sorry for her. And painful swelling, and lies in bed most of the day and evening. Well, that's where she needs to be right now. And as you bring up the adrenals, you're going to bring up dopamine and acetylcholine. And dopamine and acetylcholine, especially dopamine, is more from elimination, where your adrenalines, your epinephrines, and your norepinephrines are more for activity and movement, or shifted to the muscles for, that sort of thing. I tried to get her some gentle bouncing movement, but I wouldn't. There's, what? It's not going to be effectual, maybe even more harmful. I wouldn't even. Not right now. Get her filtering first. Get this edema out of her. I am just worried about her case. The swelling seems to be relentless. Well, look at the chemo she had. On top of an already highly stagnant lymph system. Remember, this is non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So this is her lymph system. It all is anyway. So here's her lymph system already seriously involved. And then they gave her, much, much hotter acid. So she's battling the chemo more than she's battling her own systemic acidosis. Put them together and she's in Hellville. And has moved around a bit from day to day, but has not gone overall. But you know what? There's an old saying, a watch pot never boils, but if you're watching her this close, just don't even pay any attention. Because you could, but this is a process. It just takes a while. And I tell you, it might be slow, but it's thorough. There is no, you're done. There is nothing like that. The AMA kind of fostered a kind of ridiculous thinking that there's one thing out there that's a curative remedy. And the treatment-based consciousness has been fostered even by by naturopaths now. Take supplements, vitamins, minerals. Man, when I did that back in the late 60s, early 70s, I thought, and I learned better, I thought we'd be out of that by now. And we're still wallowing in that thinking. Amazing. But, guys like me have been suppressed through the years. The state's been after me so many times I can't count them. I mean, it's just, the negative forces do not want people well. They want to pull them in. Like the Obama devil on that new Christ movie. They cut him totally out. They fell to the demands of the press and everything else. It's like, you cut that out, you cut out the best part. His resistance to evil forces. Yeah, they cut it out because the guy looked like Obama. I got a good one out of that one. Excuse me. There were days when it came out of her legs and ankles and enter her stomach. Well, you know what? If you're seeing the fluctuation of edema, that's better than seeing edema that's not fluctuating, don't you think? Absolutely. She has friends coming around to her house and freaking her out. Today she posted this about her experience yesterday. I know people mean well, but I had a friend come over this morning telling me that if the doctor saw all my swelling, they would put me in the hospital immediately, as my body is in danger of shutting down with all the toxins floating around my body and my kidneys not working. Yeah, well, what this person doesn't know is that everybody's working to get all that done. You can't go in the hospital and get your kidneys to filter. They'll just give you a strong diuretic. It's all they'll do in the hospital because they can't fix this. They are the ones that exacerbated this. They know it, and they can't fix it. But they can give you a diuretic. But again, a lot of diuretics. If she has to have a stronger diuretic, you could do that. You could get some Lasix somewhere, or have her local physician order up some Lasix and pull out some of this edema. And I mean, you could do that. If she was struggling to breathe, you do that. You know what? Even though we know what we're doing, you also have to be cautious, just like you're doing right here, and I appreciate that caution. We're not stupid. We're healers. We know how to pull them and fold them. We know how to move and breathe with nature. They don't. So we're better in the emergency rooms. We're better in all these places because we know just what's needed to push or to hold, especially those that have been trained in emergency medicine. We can pick up some of the things we can use in the chemical side for stat needs. But then there's so many things that the ER needs from us to make it a good ER. Because a lot of people see ERs and just see chest compressions when you're coding and things like that. The truth is, if the paramedics can't get you in the field, we really can't in the ER very often. Matter of fact, there was sometimes we'll work an hour and a half or 2 hours on someone trying to pull them out of a code. Now they're calling them a lot earlier, and I think there was going to be a new guidelines saying that after 15 minutes, if they've been in an ambulance coming in, the ER's only got half hour at the most or 50, I can't remember how much, to work on you, and then you're done. And it's like when you're down, let them go. They're going to get a new body anyway, chances are. I have told her that these people are just coming out of fear. Yeah, I would get all her people that's coming visiting her to pull her on the negative side, get them away from her, because they don't know the harm that they're doing. On our side, though, check her breathing, make sure she's breathing adequately and everything's good, because she's just anemic because of the chemotherapy, probably more than the systemic acidosis. Even the systemic acidosis, we do hold water, but chemotherapy is an acid of another fella. You know, a color of another fella. With toxic chemo, did it extend periods of time? Okay. I have attached your questionnaire. Hey, Drew, are you there? Is Drew there?
I'm right here.
Hey, Drew, can you come in for a minute?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Thanks, man. Current protocol: kidney and bladder number 1, kidney and bladder number 2 tincture, pure adrenal 400, stomach and bowel number 2, pure NZ thyroid glandular, liver gallbladder tincture, circulation upper lower, brain and nerve. I do brain and nerve number 2, heal all T, lymph node 4, 1 capsule twice a day. You know what? I would probably do lymphatic capsule number 5. Burn through that for about a month and a half with a lymph node, say number 3. Then I would switch and go lymph node number 5 and lymphatic number 1 capsules. And the reason lymphatic 5 and lymph node 5 have the big boys, the blood roots, the poke roots, the chaparrals. Those are the big boys. So I would go that way, particularly if you're starting to see some sediment here. What we want to do, Drew, is this is from New Zealand, and they've got a case they're working on, and I just wanted to show everybody this lady's eyes. Matter of fact, if you want to hold that there, what I'm going to do, am I out of balance here? This lady has not... oh, yeah, I see.
Let's do the top first.
Okay. Okay, let's do the top one first. Perfect. This lady doesn't have extreme systemic lymph. This is a beautiful case. She's edemic because of all the friggin' chemotherapy. See all these little white dots? Those are lymph nodes. Her lymph nodes are swollen all through her body here because she's not filtering through this kidney here, and she's got some kind of deposit in this kidney. See the GI tract here? See this white rope around this? This is the GI tract. This portion around the pupil. This brown ring relates to this white ring. This white ring is the lymph system impacted in the bowel wall, not allowing for proper absorption, and this brown ring is a malabsorption ring. She has a beautiful case. Look at these nice fibers. Holy crap. Her lymph nodes are the problem. The problem with years of this, she could have, these lymph nodes could have been solidified a little bit. And then with the chemotherapy, you know, this is all right here. This is kind of relating to this big area right here. This is the upper lung, right side. Probably a little gallbladder, liver, lymph congestion here, hip. So I'm not going to go over this too much because it's... and here's the left side here. Same thing. Beautiful genes, holy crap. If this lady doesn't make it, and the sad thing is this would have been not a difficult case in the beginning. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, the body's not heavily lymphatic up. I mean, even in the head area, even in here, it's not so bad. This is up in the head a little bit. This is in the cerebellum and in the left ear here. So she got a lot of lymph there, but I'm going to just go down here to this one. Look at this up in the right side. So this is the right brain. This is up in the cerebellum here, so she could get some equilibrium dizzy, but this is in the sinuses and up in here. So you can see maybe a tad bit of skin. That's a chemical deposit right in her right kidney, I think. Okay, so you see the eyes. All right, I'm pretty good then. There's parathyroid right there. So you want to address her parathyroid tissue. Considering that weakness, these fibers are nice and straight. When you start to see these fibers wiggling, that's connective tissue. So, good shape. Good, thanks a lot there. Sorry to take you away, dude, but I know, I'm ready. I'm getting called. All right.
They're rushing you.
Thanks. Well, I'm almost done. This is almost done with this case, and
Right.
and I'll be there.
See you in a few minutes.
So, boy, do I love your case. Look at those eyes. Really, really strong. A little left kidney, no question. But these aren't, notice these aren't real deep. You know, there's a difference between seeing lesions or lacunas that are black inside or deep looking than those that are lighter. So I think you've got a great case here. I think that this lady, above anything else, is battling the medical profession and what they did to her, because she's got a nice body here. She had a, excuse me, she had a nice body to deal with back then. But her lymph nodes, my guess when I see things like this, her lymph nodes have been, excuse me, sorry about that, guys. Her lymph nodes have been swollen most of her life, my guess. And that's one of our problems, is when a lymph node gets hard from being swollen for years with acids, it can decay the lymph node, but it also, and I don't see a dark hole there like it's decayed, but that white means those lymph nodes have been swollen for a long time. So they tend to get harder, and that's been harder to open up, so don't get frustrated. You're in kind of a race. As nice as that case is, she's got lymph nodes that are swollen, and those lymph nodes have to open up and start filtering, or you can't get her because they're between the kidney and the cells. And if that is a blockage that can't hit, then you can get the kidney filtering, but those cells can't. You're not gonna be able to correct their condition because the lymph node's blocking the drainage of the lymph and holding that acid to the cell. So these lymph nodes are big deals, and to remove one should be a crime, first of all, unless there's something, a reason for that other than it's swollen. The questions. I have also got her doing castor oil packs. Probably a good idea on this case. She also has been clearing out a lot of stuff from her digestive system, cool, and has started having lots of mucus coming out of her nose, which is also awesome. Awesome, awesome. And I think you're going to see, interesting if you note, which nose is it coming out of? Right or left? Look how much that right side, heavy, a lot of mucus up there. Is there a risk that the edema could just keeps getting worse and worse? I suppose so. I suppose the edema could kill her. I hate to say it because edema does kill you. However, you guys have her on the kidneys, the diuretics, and you're moving. The fact that you see this edema moving around up once, down another, that's a good sign. If it's up and it doesn't go down, obviously not a near a good sign. If you see it waxing and waning, good sign. Means the kidneys are kind of chugging along. You could get her Lasix if it's needed, and Lasix is a strong diuretic. They used to say dandelion root or greens were as strong as Lasix. I disagree with that, because I've done both in my life. Is there, okay, if it appears that one test of this is her breathing. You're checking her blood pressures, which is excellent. Make sure she's breathing good. You know, that sort of thing. That she's not struggling and it's harder to breathe because, you know, that edema can fill her lungs up. And if it does, you just have to take her in and get her lungs aspirated. You don't have to say it's a sign of death, any of this crap like this. Remember, we're the ones that come in and interface. You can be in hospice, you can be in nursing homes. We can come in and rescue you half of the time at least. Currently, let me see what else. She could go to the emergency room for proper supervision. Now, I'm going to say that Lasix is the one thing that she could go on a little bit to help her aggressively move this fluid out. I have heard of these cases where they drowned a previous... Yeah, I told you about that one. Absolutely do. You know, if they feel she suffered enough, no one can prove that. Or you can prove, though, any chemist or physician can prove that they drowned her, but they're not going to speak up for her. Currently, I have her checking in with me every day to tell me her BP and how she is feeling. A good idea. Breathing is good. Labored breathing, that's what you want to check out for. I am asking for ongoing pics to see her edema and if she is receding. Is there anything else she could do, be doing at the protocol? I think that once the kidneys are filtering like you're doing, I would up that and do 2 lymphatics. But the lymph node, I kind of changed my thinking. Well, no. I think you should do the lymphatic 5 capsule for a month or month and a half and then switch to the lymph node 5. You might need that lymph node 5 looking at those lymph nodes. And you could start out with a half a dropper of lymph node 5. You know, you can do it any way you want to do it that way, but I think that's probably what I would do with that protocol other than that. I like everything. Upper circ, lower circ, probably Parasite M would be a good one to keep her on a little bit. And you might do some lungs too down the road where you're starting to break up the mucus in the lungs so she can spit it out better. You can do that as well. So good protocols. You guys are good protocols. And when she's done with this liver gallbladder tincture for about a month, month and a half, or 2 months, switch her to the skin formula. That'll start helping the skin to breathe better. Make sure her basal temperatures are up there, and you guys are done good. 5 gold stars, you get an A for today. She is really losing her appetite, so her body seems to be going into a fasting mode. Well, that's the problem. She's so edemic, so acidic, that the body wants to shut down on her, I'm sure. But I agree with you. She needs to get fluids moving through her for hydration. I agree totally with that one. I have been curious of her dehydrating herself and am monitoring that because were some days where she would hardly drink or eat anything. Yeah, she needs to eat. I'd keep her down on the fluids, but I'd keep her eating grapes. Walk around, eat a grape or two every so often. Just tell her to keep a little pouch with grapes, put one in the mouth. She doesn't need to eat a whole bunch at any given time, but eat a few at a time, but eat every 15 minutes or just walk around and eat them as you walk, just as it's a natural thing to do. You don't have to eat to fill up. Yeah, absolutely. Is it just a matter of watching the color of the urine for dehydration, or it gets too dark brown, then she knows to drink more? Yeah, I wouldn't like that either. Yeah, you just set her on a system through the day of eating. This time, whether you say, well, I want you to eat 10 grapes every half hour. Something like that. You know, you can set her up with something like that to help her out. But relaxing her would be the key there. I have avoided giving her a lymph system formula apart from a small amount of lymph node 4 because I don't want her to stir more lymph up and make the swelling worse. Well, here's the thing. That's not going to make it worse. You want to get her lymph moving. That's your goal, because if you don't get her lymph moving, there's nothing she can do. She won't make it. So getting her lymph moving is key. That's why you're at the kidneys. The kidneys are after the lymph system, so I wouldn't be afraid of that. Giving her too much lymph would be afraid when she's kidneys not filtering. So I'd get right on up with that. I'd do a lymphatic kidney number 1 and a lymph node, say, number 3. Or a lymphatic number 5 and a lymph node number 3 for about a month and a half. And then I would kick it up to lymph node number 5 and go to lymphatic number 1 or something like that. All right? So I think that, Shane, I think that hopefully that'll take care of you, sweetheart. I hope, guys, Shane, I hope that does well. Shane, you're doing a good job. All you guys over there are doing great. I have my little birds everywhere, you know. So these are cases that we're all working from, and you guys are doing a great job. And the beauty I like about you guys is you get it. And you'll see that you'll work this case through this. These are hard cases, not from the original problem, from what the AMA did. And I say this, and I've said this before, we've been cleaning up the messes from the medical profession for years. So, sad things, but you know what? You guys are doing great. and you're helping so many people. I'm so proud of you guys. And no matter what anybody says, keep it up. And keep your spiritual light a shining, guys. Just remember, keep some for self. Get that, practice that, be here now every day. Let the mind do its thing outside of you. Don't be afraid to step outside of the mind, because it isn't what is in control. You are. The mind loves to grab that control and run with it. So that's the idea, to lose yourself. Then creation is fun. Until it gets so bad, then you wake up and go, whoa, it wasn't so fun. It was initially. So anyway, have fun, guys. I love you so much. I got to run. I hope this is helpful, and we'll see you the next time. Love you all so much. You're doing so good, each and every one of you. Hang in there and keep working your case no matter what. The cases you're working on or yourself. Don't get disappointed. And if you have to cheat at something once in a while to keep your spirits up, do that. And don't have anybody beat you up for it. And just keep your focus to Wellvale, honey.